Hello, YouTube and Whooper Club fans. It's been a while since we featured a match on this channel, but I had a blast doing some live commentary with Illogic for last season's finals, and with the WCL 16 finals finally here, I thought I would hop back on the mic. Unfortunately, Illogic couldn't join me because he's got a bad case of playing in the dang match, so I've got the other half of the Power Rankings team, SteveChuck, with me. Thanks for joining me, Steve.
Thanks for having me, Michael. It's good to be here.
After a hectic season of earning badges at each other's gyms and a mix of single and double battles, the top 16 advanced to playoffs and was whittled down to the Newport Noctowls and the Buffalo Bouffalant. Steve, has anything kind of stood out to you about what these coaches have been doing this season?
I mean, these coaches, are two of the best in the league. They're at the top of our preseason rankings always. Heading in as the 1 and 2 seed for quite some time now. Kind of interesting that they actually have not ever met in the playoffs at all, let alone the finals. But in terms of this season specifically, I mean, they've just been showing fantastic play with the mons they drafted. On the side of the Noctowls, especially throughout the playoffs, really relying on that Garchomp, setting up with Scale Shot to outspeed things and pick up some big KOs, as well as on occasion getting some Sword Stance boosts going from there, as well as great use of the Annihilate. I know that was also a big part of their matchups throughout the gym leader portion as well, because there are just certain matchups that Annihilate can just win. I don't think this will be one of the ones that Annihilate can just win by itself, given that, Illogic is a quite good coach, but it can be a pretty large piece of their winning strategy. For the side of the Buffalo Bouffalant and Illogic, he's been doing a lot. He's been using a lot of different things, kind of variable as always. Of course, at the top, you got Dragapult and Greninja, his top two picks that are kind of providing that fast offense there. But, he has made great use of just a variety of sets and nothing that stands out too specifically to me, but just a lot of different things, and the team has a lot of different options in it.
Sure. I mean, I agree with that. I think these two coaches in particular are just such excellent team builders that I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they end up bringing here. So with that out of the way, let's go on to the teams and the matchup and see if we can make any predictions for what we might see. The Noctowls have Tornadus, Therian, Whimsicott, Garchomp, Annihilate, Rotom Heat, Scizor, Primarina, and Alolan Muck. And the Bouffalant are going to be taking them on with Dragapult, Greninja, Gliscor, Tinkaton, Moltres, Quaquaval, Necrozma, and Terapagos. Now, this is an open Terra season. Anything can Terra, but it will have to Terra into one of its own types. Terapagos can't Stellar Terra, but everything else, as long as it Terras into its own type, it's fair game. So we could see powerful stuff like the Dragapult or other stuff. Both coaches have used excellent use of Terra. Is there anything you kind of see when you really look at this matchup, Steve?
A little bit at the start. You see the clear speed advantage for the Bouffalant and those faster threats, especially Dragapult being able to go Adamant or Modest here while still outspeeding the Tornadus. So, that certainly can be key, and see what that first overall pick is able to do. But yeah, that's kind of the first thing that stands out to me there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. The Dragapult and the Greninja being the two fastest mons here is going to be huge, especially if Greninja does go with that Battle Bond ability. If it's able to get that speed boost, outspeeding any Scarfers. The Noctowls do have, excellent Tailwind support, as well as the option for stuff like Prankster things from Whimsicott, but I really think that we probably won't see much of that here. That does seem more like kind of some of the doubles tech they had this season. The Noctowls team just is has so much good bulky offense. Like, you have Garchomp, Annihilate, Primarina, and Muck, Scizor. There's just a really good, reliable kind of bulky offense here, and the Bouffalant are not frail by any means. They have a lot of nice bulk, but definitely the Dragapult and the Greninja are on the frailer side as far as, kind of win conditions for the side. And, I think it'll be really interesting going into that bulky offense. I think the Bouffalant, I would say they cook a little bit harder in the kitchen. I think they find and go for some sets that are a little more gimmicky than the Noctowls go for. So I think we could see some really interesting stuff going into some just kind of like really reliable sets, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Very much, Jimmy's been kind of working on having, defensive answers and has those slower mons that he'll be able to switch in to absorb some hits. And it'll be a question of if Logic has the plans to switch into those and, pick up the momentum back from there.
Yeah, I think as far as type goes, the Dragapult for the Bouffalant looks so good. Ghost into the Noctowls. Of course, that Alolan Muck is bulky and can take hits for days, but I mean, that's really the only thing wanting to take a big Ghost-type move. The Primarina is a nice answer for the Greninja, but the Greninja could have Gunk Shot, and, Water into the Noctowls team, also pretty solid aside from that Primarina. And also kind of similarly on the Bouffalant side, I think Primarina looks quite good offensively. Water is really nice into the Bouffalant as well, with them having more resists overall, but, like the Dragapult and the Greninja aren't necessarily going to be your switch-ins to, a Hydro Pump or something. So I think it'll be really interesting to see what Pokemon kind of end up taking over the match. Is there anything kind of else here? Any Pokemon specifically you want to highlight?
Some notes kind of looking at the teams for the side of the Noctowls. One mon I don't anticipate coming is the Whimsicott. You had mentioned, having the Tailwind support options from Torn as well, but, mainly from the Whimsicott. However, I don't. They haven't brought to any of the other playoff matches so far, and it definitely is more of that doubles-oriented mon. Tailwind support. It's a second Fairy type. It is, their water type, but I'm sorry, grass type. But I'm not sure if that is, necessary. As you mentioned, it's on the frailer side, and the Bouffalant do have two water types that might try and take advantage if it's not there. But I'm sure they have other ways to answer that, and I expect Whimsicott to continue riding the bench. On the side of the Bouffalant, they've made use of everything throughout the playoffs, so nothing's kind of sitting dead on arrival as I'm looking at this. They did mention, and I have heard them mention, Terapagos has been, a big piece of their plan so far, having it for all the matches. They were worried about it into whichever Annihilate team they faced this week. So we may see, them not bring Terapagos for the first time, which, not having that answer in the back pocket to anything could bite them in the butt.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we're going to wait for the coaches to get underway, and then we'll jump into the match as it goes live. See you in just a bit. All right, well, here is the match. Looks like for the Bouffalant, we've got Dragapult, Greninja, Gliscor, Tinkaton, Necrozma, and Moltres going up against Garchomp, Annihilate, Tornadus, Primarina, Rotom, and Muck. I think this is pretty understandable here from both of these sides.
Yeah, missing the Terapagos, as we mentioned, the matchup into Annihilate, not fantastic. It is, a ghost immunity, but the weakness to fighting once it's below half health could become, or below full health could become an issue. And then additionally on the Bouffalant side, the Quaquaval, I guess that's pretty understandable too. Garchomp with the rough skin is pretty bad for it, as well as just hitting Annihilate if it gets some bulk ups up. Prim's a pretty good answer too. So yeah, not a lot of great choices for it there. On the side of the Noctowls, missing the Scizor. Scizor, definitely understand that. Moltres is just switches it on that pretty much for free. So, and here we go.
All right, we've got Greninja into Torn. Both of these possibly Scarfed.
That could be the case for either of them.
I would expect them probably both to stay in here. Torn could, Tailwind could, U-turn, Greninja, but we could possibly see like an Ice Beam.
I would think a Tailwind's pretty unlikely here, but just a U-turn to, check item, check damage, switch into the Greninja answer. I don't even know if a Ice Beam here What do it would do a lot. It would need a boosting item to pick up the KO if it's a bulky Torn. If it's a more offensive, it could probably do it.
Yeah, no, I would expect this to be a bulkier Torn. He might just hard out into the Primarina, or the Muck. Muck maybe a little bit of a more middle ground play, because we could have the poison move on the Greninja for the Primarina, because otherwise it does get walled fairly well by it.
Yeah, but I mean, the Noctowls have also really like the Assault Vest Muck here, and that, is going to eat up anything this Greninja does. Of course, Greninja does have the physical options as well, but definitely tends to lean more into those special options, and those are what we're going to be more worried about. Into an Assault Vest Muck, the best thing he'd probably have is a Liquidation. Hydro Pump.
There's the Hydro Pump. Okay, do good damage, and the Bleak Wind Storm hit for about the same amount of damage back to it.
So that Hydro Pump roll could be against lower bulk Torn. We're looking at for that Bleak Wind. Have to suspect the Greninja Scarf at this point.
But probably. I mean, it could have been.
Oh no, the Greninja outspeeds. Never mind.
Yeah. I mean, it. I don't know what item he would have on here. I mean, we didn't see like a Life Orb. Could have had like a Sash or a Resist Barrier or something. Scarf is probably the most useful option he could have left on this, but I could really see him not wanting to lock himself into moves with the Muck and the Primarina on the other side. It does seem like this just invites a pretty free switch-in. I'd probably expect the Primarina to come in here. We'll probably see whether or not this is locked in some case or not, based on what the Noctowl will switch into here and how the Bouffalant respond to it. There is a chance that this could just be trying to bait in the Primarina, and we could see a Poison-type move come out here. If so, that would be absolutely huge for the Bouffalant. But probably not trying to make that risky a play. Here we do see the Primarina come in. Resisted Hydro Pump still does about a third to it.
Yeah, the calc on the Bleak Wind suggests either likely no offensive investment, or maybe just a little bit of offensive investment from the Tornadus. So it's possible that it does have the bulk, and maybe the Greninja has a boosting item to increase that water-type damage. The roll onto this Primarina can probably shed some more light here.
Looks like... Doesn't look like a particularly bulky Primarina. Well, there's a Hydro Miss, and Surf comes out going to finish off the Greninja. I'm a little surprised to see the Bouffalant just let the Greninja go down there, but it was... already had taken a lot of damage, and they don't have a great switch into the Primarina here. We mentioned Water actually goes in quite well against the Bouffalant here.
Yeah, that may have been some... Yeah, I'm more and more leaning to the Greninja having a boosting item like a Mystic Water.
Yeah.
But into the Primarina here, sacking the Greninja, not great switch-ins, but also, and trading it for, what's going to amount to a little bit of chip on Torn and the Primarina. It's very possible that Hydro Pump hit Primarina, lacking a recovery outside of Draining Kiss. That could be a check he's worried about for something else. The Necrozma, of course, a very big setup sweeper potentially. If he's worried about a specific check, the Primarina can provide that. The Dragapult as well. If the Dragon Answer goes down, I'm not sure how much a Ghost move is doing to the Primarina now. but that's if that goes down, then Dragon Spam becomes quite possible. So maybe just trying to chip that enough to open up Dragapult, Dragon Spam later.
Yeah, I think actually what I'm looking at with that, is could we see a setup offensive Gliscor set trying to get the damage on the Primarina? If the Primarina goes down, an SD on Gliscor actually looks quite nice into the team that the Noctowls brought. You have the Earthquake for the Muck. You can easily have a Rock move for the Tornadus and the Rotom, or just nice Earthquakes into the Annihilate and the Garchomp. Here we do see Necrozma, nice, a very bulky Pokemon. We'll have to see if we can infer kind of what the spread on this thing is. Obviously didn't want to just hard switch into the Primarina, or was perhaps trying to predict the Primarina switching out. But we will see what we have here. Necrozma, just so endlessly versatile.
Yeah, we are really going to need some help from Nate showing what we got.
Earthquake does about half, and Moonblast gets the special attack drop. Well, we did see physical, so not a big deal. It could be a roll to KO here, though.
That Earthquake doing exactly half of its remaining health is a lot of a concern for Illogic.
Yeah,
here.
I'm wondering if that was a prediction on Muck coming in. And I think this is kind of, what we were talking about, initially was the Noctowls just have such solid, bulky offensive pieces that I do think that Nate is going to feel pressured trying to make some predictions, get some nice free hits off on some things to try and make headway on those things, to get them chipped for cleaners like the Dragapult. But the Noctowls' just general bulk does allow them to stay in and just get off nice damage and generally win the war of attrition here.
So yeah, looking at that Earthquake roll, I am seeing that could have been a mid-roll from a max attack Adamant into max defense Primarina. Earlier we mentioned it looked like the Primarina didn't have much HP. However, that could be off based on the Greninja. Maybe the Greninja had like a Specs or something, considering we didn't see it change moves.
Mm-hmm.
So that it could be, a little bit worse than that, but, unless it is very defensively invested, I would think that this is probably in Illogic's favor here to pick up the KO. What should that Moonblast do?
Yeah, we do also see we're starting to kind of try and suss out what's on the Primarina. Not a Choice Scarf. I love Choice Scarf on Primarina. Thought it could be pretty good here, but not given the damage that the Hydro Pump was doing. Don't think it's Assault Vest, which is another item I love on Primarina. Wondering what it could have. Could have maybe a Poison Resist Berry.
That could be it. That might have been part of the reason it felt so safe, staying in front of the Greninja.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. The Bouffalant are going to have to play this pretty carefully, taking that big damage on Necrozma. You have to think that the win condition is the Dragapult and potentially the Gliscor. Gliscor could just be a defensive variant. But okay, we do see Earthquake pick up the KO there. We'll see what the Noctowls go out into. Necrozma not particularly slow, but not particularly fast either. They do have, alright, just in the Torn here. We'll see what they go for as far as move selection here, but could be getting some just additional Regenerator off on it. Could be just going for another Bleak Wind or a U-turn or something.
Yeah, I'd be a little worried going for a U-turn here. A U-turn, unless it just picks up the KO, which I don't expect it to. A U-turn into a Necrozma Dragon Dance could be disastrous if it's weakness policy. Necrozma at +1 could certainly outspeed all non-boosted threats, and at +3 attack from that could really put in some effort before it goes down, if that's what Illogic's looking to do with it here.
Yeah, I am a little bit surprised. Okay, we see the Moltres come out. 2 birds! Bleak Windstorm hits, does a bit under half. I was gonna say, I'm a bit surprised that the Noctowls didn't bring the Scizor. It doesn't have a great matchup, but I do think that strong Bullet Punch into things like the Necrozma with the Dragon Dance up, or the Greninja, or the Dragapult would have been really nice to have, just for some insurance against those really fast threats.
That certainly could have been useful. But yeah, Gliscor and Moltres both kind of just eat that up. So I understand it, but it could be a game saver in the short term. Taking a look here, the Moltres seems to have not much bulk. Based on our earlier calcs, with the Tornadus not having much offense. There we go. Some boost in here.
The U-turn from the Moltres. I really like that from Jimmy here. The nasty plot on the Tornadus. I mean, Tinkaton is the only thing that resists that Bleak Wind Storm. And you have to think that Gliscor generally not, even the defensive set's generally more physically defensive. And you'd expect that with things like the Garchomp and the Annihilate in this matchup, that if it was running defensive, it would probably be, okay, we go out to the Dragapult to outspeed. Definitely feels a bit forced here.
Yeah, as you were covering, there really isn't anything there, especially if there's Heat Wave coverage. Depending on the investment, the Tinkaton could go down to that, and everything else could be in range of a Bleak Wind. So going out here in a Dragapult, which Logic can be confident it outspeeds, assuming he sped it right. So we're looking reasonable here. Can revenge. I assume, it has options to pick up the KO here, depending on what his set is.
Yeah, I mean, no Draco Meteor switch-ins with that Primarina gone, so that's obviously an option. I could imagine something like Specs Shadow Ball would also potentially get a KO here.
Yeah, Draco, best switch in. I'm just assuming that Muck is Assault Vest, but the Assault Vest Muck would do. And I mean, I almost fully expect the Muck coming in here to eat up whatever is expected. Although Elf Owls may try to scout what the Dragapult is before committing to a switch in.
Yeah, I mean, the Muck, I'm not sure how important the Muck is anymore. You have that Greninja go down. I mean, really, it seems like the Muck is here for this Dragapult. And switching in here, if you are Assault Vest, alright, here it is. And we're going to see Dragon Darts. Physical will pick up a 2-hit KO. Or maybe not, thanks to that Papa Berry. Okay, that was 65% between the two darts, and now back up to 68% for this Muck. Well, dang.
Yeah. Of note there, pretty important on the Dragon Dart, that damage roll is just out of range against a Adamant max HP. Mm-hmm. So Dragapult has some sort of boosting. I would not be surprised to see it have some sort, like a Dragon Fang for just that slight boost of the dragon damage.
Yeah.
Certainly would further emphasize then taking out the Primarina as the Dragon Resist, allowing Dragon Darts to really go in against the rest of the team.
Yeah. This boosted item, you do have to watch out a little bit. I mean, you do give 2 hits onto that Annihilate for Rage Fist damage, but you just saw the damage of it. The Alola Muck is by no means frail, and you just did an absolutely huge chunk to it. But you are probably a bit wary of the rolls and aren't going to stay in here on the Muck, probably going into something like the Tinkaton.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the calcs here. If it is Dragon Fang Adamant, we're doing 29 to 34. So yeah, smart switch out there into Moltres.
Moltres takes the knockoff, no Flame Body proc. Probably something the Bouffalants were considering. Rotom comes out as the Roost, going to bring that Moltres back up to fairly healthy. Gliscor is the only real electric switch in. I mean, Dragapult resists it, but you really don't want to risk a potential para on a Thunderbolt. Of course, Volt Switch, though, Well, I think it will be pretty interesting to see what they go in here. We'll see how much is left. Could potentially just try and sack the Necrozma, but I do feel like that would put them a little farther behind than they'd like.
Yeah, I do not. I keep the Necrozma around. That knockoff suggests no investment on the Muck in terms of its offense, at least, or very little.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably looking at a full Spectral Wall meant to counter the Dragapult.
Yeah.
Ultra's U-turning out here.
And what do you go into? Gliscor would be probably, the thing you'd think of. An overheat predicting that would be huge. In fact, I mean, an overheat into anything that isn't this Moltres would actually be pretty dang big.
Yeah, Dragapult could take it fairly well. Dragapult might be the safe switch in, resisting both of the stabs, but you have to worry about, either status this Rotom could put out, and the burn or paralysis would both likely end the game there if Dragapult, the main offensive piece here for the Bouffalant, became hindered by them.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the Gliscor is the only thing that Rotom doesn't really want to see switch in, and even so, I mean, if you have like Will-O-Wisp, like you're not too bothered by it coming in.
Especially if it was Click which would be a great chance to try and not allow it to pick up that poison condition here and heal from the poison healing. I certainly could see a Will-O-Wisp here. And what are you worried about Moltres doing to you?
Exactly.
Rotom's not worried about anything here. So you're right. I expect this to be a Will-O-Wisp.
All right, Tinkaton going to come out with the Air Balloon. Will-O-Wisp does come out, get that burn on the Tinkaton. A little annoying, but, I mean, Tinkaton was probably going to be here for defensive purposes more than offensive. So not as big a loss as the burn going on to something like the Dragapult, but definitely not ideal.
It's not ideal, but as we're talking about the options there, definitely the best one. Yeah. Dragapult, I mentioned, you can't let that get burned. Necrozma still has life left, and I'd certainly like to see it get a second chance, which it can't do well burned. And Gliscor is, a very key defensive piece. I kind of expect it to be quite physically bulky to deal with Garchomp and Annihilate.
Encore! All right. Definitely going to find the Bouffalant a little bit of momentum here. Could see something like a knockoff come out here as Torn comes out, as the rocks go up. Nice.
Yep, that was the situation there where, as the Bouffalant, it would cross my mind to switch out. Obviously the Noctowls are switching out, but it's a really big risk not wanting anything else to get burned. I guess you could go to the Moltres, but getting up your rocks now, getting in some chip damage, especially on the Tornadus and Rotom, really breaking those down as they go in and out, assuming they are not boots.
Yeah. Now, I mean, as Torn here, I guess you have to think about that calc on the from the Dragapult. Obviously, Jimmy knows his investment. I was gonna say you might feel kind of safe going for Nasty Plot, but the Paralysis and the Lumberry going to get rid of that. So now a very scary Heat Wave probably coming out from this Tornadus.
Yeah, Heat Wave definitely picks us up from here. 1 second, let me double check. The Tinkaton I'm calculating against is not especially defensive. Tinkaton, unless it is fully specially defensive here, going down to this. So very interesting there. Of note, the Dragapult Dragon Darts, going forward with our Dragon Fang assumption from an Adamant, is not going to pick up a 2-hit KO on a bulky Tornadus. Or a one-hit, two hits through one attack KO.
Yeah.
So Tornadus here might be in a pretty good position to really do some damage and make a big hole for the Noctowls.
Yeah, we have seen the Bleakwind Storm and are, guessing a Heat Wave is going to be on here for the Tinkaton. Not 100% accurate moves, though. So definitely, I'd be interesting to see if, with the Nasty Plot up, if the Noctowls have, a safer offensive option that we might see them go for at some point here. I mean, here you definitely Heat Wave, and then we'll see, what the damage that does to anything that comes in.
I'm very excited for after the match to see the wide lens on this Tornadus to really
I would
mitigate
100%
that accuracy.
believe it.
I mean, it's probably boots. I mean, but based on what we're looking at roughly max HP, likely a heavy speed investment. Boots is definitely the item I would expect here, and I believe what the Noctowls have favored running throughout the playoffs just to keep Torn healthy as it comes in on hazards and really make the most of Regenerator.
Yeah, but wide lens would be funnier, and I like that.
I agree it would be funnier. Unfortunately, the Elf Owls, he doesn't tend to make the funny sets. He just makes good sets and keeps winning with them.
Dang. Is that the secret? You make good things do well?
It's outrageous, I know.
Alright, Coach is taking some time, though, thinking about this move here. I mean, I think both coaches realize that this is a potential endgame scenario, this Tornadus with this nasty plot up. Looking at all the different potential patterns of play that could happen here, trying to figure out what exactly is going to be optimal, especially here for the Bouffalant.
This just in from our sideline reporter, Joey of the Akron Agrons. Not much has been going on.
Well, dang.
We're kind of sitting here waiting. I'm like, oh, surely my sideline reporter's got something for me. And the answer, no. We're not over there with them, but it seems like they're all just listening. Oh, the taunt.
No, second Thunder Wave. This could be a free extra nasty plot here for the Tornadus. Although, I mean, with the burn, obviously Tinkaton's not going to be doing as much, but you don't want to take too much damage for that Dragapult to be able to come in and revenge you with that Dragon Darts, which we did see do huge damage to Muck.
Yeah, I see each hit of the Dragon Darts doing about a third, so I don't even think, a knockoff here. Maybe a Gigaton Hammer, through the burn could do enough. Okay, we finally do have some sideline reporting here. A fun fact from Elf Owls a couple turns ago. Oh, never mind.
Heat wave.
There it goes.
And we are going to, I'm sure, see the Dragapult come out here and force them to hit something.
Yeah, of note, the Bleakwind Storm, assuming no special attack investment, is not a guaranteed KO on a full HP Dragapult.
Okay.
At least one that has the likely 36 EVs and HP it needs while it can still outspeed everything.
Yeah.
So we'll certainly see what happens there.
Oh, I'm ready to see them break out the Hurricane.
All right. Here we go. From the Silent Reporter, fun fact from Elf Owls a couple turns ago, Ash had a Gliscor, but he released it since it didn't like fighting.
Well, there you go.
Very fun.
This Gliscor being kept in the back, just the same.
Exactly. They're both cowards. You heard it here first. Unless you were, in the chat and maybe you heard it there first.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is the kind of hard-hitting reporting you expect from WCL coverage.
The Bouffalant had expressed surprise that Elf Owls kept Rotom in and got Encored. Mm-hmm. Understandable, Elf Owls is, of course, they have their signature item, of course, of the Mirror Herb, but I'd say Encore is definitely their signature move within the league. They seem to be, the coach that uses it far and away the most. Nice to see that both myself and Logic tried to use it against them. I think it went better for Logic than it went for me in the semifinals. So, shout out to that, but just a little bit.
Man, no matter how many times I look at it, I can't believe that they really just decide, what if Tornadus Therian, what if it was just a giant dinosaur chicken?
It's just a cool looking bird. Nothing wrong with the bird. So, assuming the Tornadus has, oh man, hold on. I don't know.
Well, I'm holding.
Yeah, the Tornadus could do enough. It's hard to say. I'm not going back and rechecking the Greninja calc, but it could have. There's enough spare EVs and what I'm looking at theoretically here that it could KO everything from here. The Dragapult, as we mentioned, can take a chunk out of it on the way, but I don't know if anything else stands a chance of taking a hit. The Necrozma has been chipped. The Moltres has been chipped. The Gliscor may be able to take a hit, but at the Gliscor, then I'm not sure what it's going to be able to do back. A rock move seems likely, and maybe that gets enough chip. Going for the Dragapult.
Here's Dragapult. Could have something here, or is, just forcing the Noctowls to land. Bleak Wind is what, 80%?
Yes, I believe so.
80%. They're they are 2 for 2 so far, so, do a miss, some would say. Others would say it's still 80%.
I think they get at least one more before the miss statistically, based on my own misunderstandings of statistics.
Oh. Statistics are unknowable unless you're a mathematician or a statistician, in which case, shut up.
We could see Dragapult use Rain Dance here to make sure the Bleak Wind Storm can't miss.
That would be unexpected. Terra Blaster, oh my gosh, living on 1% and getting the OHKO. Those are gonna be some calcs to check.
Yeah, we're alright, so the Dragapult.
I was wondering if we might actually have seen a Dragon Dance from the Dragapult, trying to live, but yeah.
The assessment there from Logic is that's gotta be game.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes down to the Noctowls hitting their moves, but, I mean, the win conditions on the Bouffalant side are pretty much gone. That Greninja and the Dragapult, like I said, offensive Gliscor could prove pretty good, but not good enough to beat, for Pokemon on its own, I don't think. Necrozma here, probably go down to a Heat Wave here, the slightly more accurate move, but we'll see. Depends on what
we got.
Oh, yep.
We got another comment here from Logic, noting that it was a roll in his favor to pick up the KO on the Tornadus.
Yep, I would believe that.
So if I'm getting into a roll in his favor, what am I doing here? Choice band?
I thought it could be banded, but I didn't think so necessarily based on that muck initially, but we could have had it wrong.
Correct.
It could have been physically defensive.
That is possible. Well, we needed to add a boosting item to make it go. Yeah. It could be physically defensive. Band is probably doing well. Okay, let's go back then to the HP I expected. Yeah, it looks like Terra Blast Ghost from a Choice Band is doing, 50-50 to KO. Tornadus had a little bit of chip, so I could see that being what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I mean, the item makes sense on the Bolt. I first saw, again, they really seem to put a lot of effort into taking down that Prima Arena initially, letting, the Greninja go down and stuff, just trying to get... Oh!
We have the Scarf Necrozma.
The Scarfed Necrozma with an Outrage. Very interesting. You do have to think, though, that Annihilate probably comes out here. Will take good damage, but get a Rage Fist boost and hit back pretty hard, but, we'll see. Depends on what the kind of investment on the other mons are, too.
Yeah, it's certainly not over, but with the Dragapult being down and, Necrozma's secret being out of the bag here, that's a lot going the other way now. I'm curious about the choice of which order to go, keeping the Necrozma safe while risking the Dragapult. I guess, the chance to KO from there definitely makes sense. But maybe it would have been better to just send out the Necrozma first, get the chip, and make that in range. Of course, the Noctowls then are likely to switch out and save the Tornadus, so maybe the surprise factor of, the Terra Ghost and Well, the Noctowls have been pretty aware that was a choice ban based on their knowledge of their own muck. So
yeah, I mean, even if you force them out, I mean that's a free Dragon Darts. There we do see it takes the Outrage well enough. The Rage Fist gets the boost and will KO back. And now we've just got a bird and a whatever Gliscor is going up a dead Angry Monkey.
that damage is in line with the no defense max HP, quite possible.
Sure.
Which certainly makes sense, and the Rage Fist calc isn't telling us anything at that percent. Well, you guys last season for the finals, you guys were like, no way that KO'd. So let me double check. Rage Fist at 1 hit into Necron. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're not learning anything. Let me get rid of any attack investment I suspected this guy could have. What if it was minus attack?
No, it was minus attack. Make sure to drop the IVs too. There's the Toxic outspeeding the Annihilate.
Notably outspeeding, which likely means a heavy speed investment.
Yeah. I mean, we have Toxic is a really good way to deal with Annihilate, and we have seen Alphals make a lot of use of the Annihilate. I could definitely see the Bouffalant narrowing down kind of what they expect the speed investment to be and creeping that just for this exact situation.
Notably, the Noctowls, Alphals here, quite shocked that the Gliscor was fast enough there. Getting a little bit of insight from the sideline reporting, of course indicating the Annihilate likely does have a decent amount of speed investment.
And now, alright, we're going to probably just stall here.
I do like that play. Keeps Gliscor healthy. Gliscor going to be a key way to shut down the Garchomp. And yeah, Moltres here with the recovery, able to do it. Gliscor.
Oh, the Rock Tomb, but he misses.
That could be. That is quite unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think at that range it would have KO'd 4 times effective. Gliscor
yes, Rock Tomb. Gliscor comes in to absorb that, takes the damage, gonna heal it all off with the poison heal. I'm sorry, not all. My mistake.
Yeah, and now
everyone
look at this. Gliscor looks pretty good. I mean, if it has like Ice Fang for the Garchomp, that Rotom is definitely annoying though. Probably not having anything that can, do crazy damage to it.
But notably at this point, no longer worried about the burn since you were able to get the Toxic up on yourself, and a much better spot than switching in on it earlier. Overheat, still going to do a good chunk of damage, especially with the speed the Gliscor likely has. It's going to be somewhat frailer in some aspect. It's probably still got a lot of defense for the Garchomp, so I could see it maybe not being full HP or something. So we'll have to see as we take a look. A note from our sideline reporter here. Everyone agrees that it's about time that Alphawls missed a move.
I mean, yeah, no, that checks out.
Did get some pretty good accuracy. Nothing at the point where they were unfavored, but fair enough, about time, and just enough to keep the Bouffalant alive in this one.
What is the accuracy of Rock Tomb?
90?
90? All right. I was gonna say, I wasn't sure, couldn't remember if it was 95 or not, because it would have been funny if it was the most inaccurate move they used and was the one they missed.
95.
You hit the inaccurate ones, you miss the accurate ones. Them's the breaks. And with that, I mean, there's definitely is room for the Bouffalant to squeak this out here, though. But it's just a question of, they have 2 pretty bulky pieces, but the Moltres can't touch the Rotom, and the Gliscor isn't going to be able to outlive all 3 of those opposing Pokemon, so we'll have to see kind of how exactly it shakes out.
Yeah, I would say the Noctowls are definitely still favored here, but this game is far from over. The Gliscor, with its bulk and healing, will certainly get more glances into its moves. Toxic too can be a pretty big piece, even if it's just able to sit out there stall, get boost healing. I believe it still has access to that. Or does it? But regardless, a poison heal, and kind of try and just stall out some of these other threats, even if it can't do great direct damage to them. The Muck, the biggest thing there, but Earthquake super effective into that. Likely, a lot more physical defense in that than we originally expected. So we'll see what that means for it looking forward.
Yeah, I do not think Gliscor gets Roost anymore.
That sounds about right. And I recalled it lost something. I forgot what. That's a pretty big thing to lose, though.
But yeah, I almost. Yeah, I kind of. It's interesting what the Noctowls could go into here. I mean, Rotom is the thing that's potentially threatened the least by the Gliscor and kind of threatens it with the most potential damage in the overheat. Okay, but we do just go out into the Garchomp. And we'll have to see what comes out from the Gliscor here, if anything. We could switch out into the Moltres, trying to potentially get some Flame Body proc.
Notably, Ice Fang is probably only doing roughly half. If I guess this could be offense, the Gliscor hasn't. I guess it took the one hit. I did not calc, but it hasn't taken anything substantial. So we're, I'm not sure how much where its EVs lie outside of that speed.
Liquidation with the big crit and the Toxic.
Get the Garchomp on the timer, but that critical hit is very unfortunate. Liquidation still likely, around a 2-hit KO, but not with Poison Heal.
Yeah, I mean...
So that crit pretty unfortunate there.
Yeah, the crit's unfortunate, but... I mean, I think that having that pretty much seals this for the Noctowls regardless. I mean, you're going to be able to break through the Gliscor before it Toxic stalled you. It looked like without the crit, you're probably going to be doing about 50% with Liquidation. Obviously, you have that for the Moltres too.
We are getting some hard-hitting news from the sideline reporter. They are currently being sat on by a cat and may be slow to provide additional reports from the sideline.
Okay, well, I've got some hard-hitting news for you. I, too, am being sat on by a cat.
That is crazy, and you're still able to report like this?
No, I'm able to report.
That is...
I was very concerned about my cat knocking down the microphone, though. There is Liquidation for the KO. We're just stalling for the extra Toxic damage here.
Switch out, yeah.
Comes the Alolan Muck on the expected Protect.
A logic there. Quite sad to see no Flame Body procs as Chomp attacks while Toxic.
Yep, no, I would be pretty excited if I was him and my Toxic opponent did get burned. But we do see the Ice Punch on the Muck, specifically, I'm sure, packed for this big ground type on the other side. And we'll see. We'll have to see what the damage rolls on both these Pokemon are, kind of given their varying offensive/defensive potential investments.
Where I sit right now on the damage calc, Ice Punch is doing a max of 70, which, of course, that's where I sit right now. My numbers are certainly not right.
Oh, the Pterodactyl
Fire Fang.
Fire Fang.
Oh, that's, Nate feeling generous, missing a 95 back.
If there's one way to beat the Bouffalant, it's to hit moves when they miss moves. And that'll... Ice Punch will finish up the game. I think the Fire Fang, perhaps a last ditch for a burn on the Muck.
A burn or flinch. Either of them would have been pretty effective there, but neither showing up.
But we are going to see that the just reliability of that Noctowl's bulky offense is going to end up picking up the win. Let's see. All right, we do have... They've posted their teams. What have we got here? It is banned on the Dragapult.
Makes sense. Phantom Force has an option to not have to commit to the Terra Blast.
Yep. It was Specs on the Greninja.
Definitely makes sense. And the two of those in combination, just trying to take that immediate damage against this bulky team to break through it.
Yeah, but that also then means I wonder if I look down Primarina, we do have, max HP, and then some physical defense on the Primarina. Man, we were just, our calcs were all out of whack with the items and the investment of things that just happened to get sent out early.
It's hard to say. We start going, but we're getting the picture closer together towards the end, but not quite there. Missing both sides of the equation makes this quite difficult to figure out.
Yeah, but of course, the coaches having that means they pretty much immediately knew what the other was up to, and we see the Choice Scarf and 4 attacks on the Necrozma. Interestingly, with the special Heat Wave, I'm sure for that Scizor if it came.
Yep, that certainly makes sense. And Scizor would be a pretty reliable switch into the Necrozma once you see it's physical. Doesn't really have that physical fire move. So Heat Wave there as the coverage option. It didn't come up, but great choice to have.
Yeah, looking at the kind of Bouffalant's team holistically, I do like the very interesting, the Gliscor set. Facade, Fire Fang, Toxic Protect, no Earthquake. That's that's interesting. Max HP, a lot of speed. Didn't have really a whole lot it could do to the Muck. Facade, you do get that boost from, poisoning yourself for that poison heal, but I really would have expected them to have Earthquake on that somewhere. It would be interesting to see, some detailed calcs on the Rotom matchup if, you have, with the Protects, can you actually weather some overheats between the poison healing and the protecting and the special attack drops. But otherwise, I think that the Bouffalant's team is good, but I am surprised by 3 choice items. Because of that Primarina and that Muck, they just seemed like such good walls to certain Pokemon of the Bouffalants. I'm surprised they were willing to lock them into so many things. But, we saw them come out. We saw big damage from the Greninja. The Greninja, of course, missing a Hydro Pump, not doing as much as I'm sure the Bouffalant would like. We saw the band on the Dragapult look phenomenal. And of course, that Scarf on the Necrozma did pick up a nice KO there at the end to stop the sweep.
Accuracy would have clearly stopped the sweep if Necrozma didn't, right?
Obviously.
But yeah, overall, interesting choice on the Gliscor. I'm sure if we talk to a Logic, he can certainly mention what those for. Fire Fang, another item specifically for the Caesar, I would guess. I'm quite worried about that, which makes sense. You mentioned, Bullet Punch against the frail offense, pretty big piece. But with it not there, some of these move slots kind of wasted and not needed. Fire Fang did give a chance towards victory here at the end. Also took it away with that miss, so unfortunate to see that.
Yeah, all right. And looking at, we have Scarf Chomp for the Noctowls. I was wondering if that could potentially have been an option for them. But just nice, strong offensive options and spikes on that. Seed Berry on the Annihilate to take a Ghost-type hit from that Dragapult and then hit back with a boosted Rage Fist. I really like that. For the Tornadus, really interesting spread on the Tornadus. Max HP, a lot of special defense, some speed, some special attack, 4 defense. Really interesting, and we did see it, it worked for him.
Yeah, it worked. Got the 5 different stats, trying to min-max specific calcs, and it was able to work.
And wow, we Custat Berry on the Primarina. It's bold, and I like that, but I'm a little bit surprised on that. You're definitely nice and bulky, but I'm not sure, kind of what you're confident that you're going to be living in range to get that Custat Berry proc.
I believe that is the Primarina ended up being a little bit more of a wall, but this set looks to me more like a setup sweeper. You have that physical defense. You're then using the Calm Mind to set yourself up, and at that point, you're typically getting chipped for less and less. And the anticipation then is you're going to survive barely, and they're going to think, okay, I just outspeed and KO, but all it takes is a Custat Berry pop. Especially on a draining kiss to then heal yourself out of that range enough to live another hit plus pick up a KO. That could be a really nice set if it had the chance to go off.
We do see, alright, so interesting enough, no Thunderbolt or Overheat on that Rotom. Definitely threatened a lot of things with it, but just wasn't packing it. Certainly the 4 moves that I see there make sense, though. Hex for extra damage on the Dragapult. Wisp, of course, the burn was great. Volt Switch for pivoting, and Pain Split for a bit of recovery. Like I said, the game plan for the Noctowls here really seemed to just kind of outlast the Bouffalant. And, if they could weather some of those kind of initial onslaughts, they really had the advantage to just kind of win the long game here with the sheer amount of bulk on their team. And just look at the 6 Pokemon that they brought to this match, not a frail one among them.
No, I mean, even given that, Garchomp, all of them with near max HP, with the exception of Annihilate only getting 192 HP, and then Garchomp, just the measly 32, a lot less there, but just a ton of investment in the bulk, and that's, definitely the Noctowl style. Bulky offense, getting all these guys who are hitting, you're seeing still a decent amount of offensive investment and natures to boost that. And going from there, slowly winning the war of attrition, taking the hits, hitting back, picking up KOs, and it worked for him here.
Yeah, alright, well, that was the match. Let's see if we can grab our newly crowned WCL 16 champion Elf Owls of the Newport Noctowls, and see if we can get you a little bit of their insight from the match in just a bit. Okay, well, we're here with Elf Owls, coach of the Newport Noctowls and new WCL 16 season champion. Great game. Congratulations, man.
Hey, thanks so much. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
Man, it really seemed, we were talking about, kind of, while we were watching the game, it really seemed like your game plan was just kind of reliable, bulky offense, and if you can kind of weather some of those initial hits from the kind of frailer offensive mons like the Greninja and the Dragapult, then you just have a real good edge in the long game. Is that what you were thinking of, kind of prepping for this match?
Yeah, basically. I looked into trying to out-offense the Greninja and the Dragapult, and with stuff like the Choice Scarf Garchomp that I brought, I considered that as an option. It's something I could have gone for, but it was a lot more reliable to just try to tank their hits and, yeah, as you said, kind of weather the storm until I could just break through them.
When you saw the team that the Bouffalant brought, kind of, what was your initial assessment kind of the game plan here? We saw, some kind of big hits traded in the start there that resulted in the Primarina and the Greninja going down for both sides, which were, kind of big pieces. The Bouffalant losing that big offensive piece and you losing the Dragon immunity. So, kind of at the start of the battle and kind of the early turns, what was your kind of assessment of everything?
Yeah, Nate and I were even talking about it after the battle, but that turn 1, I was actually kind of taking a big risk because I said to myself, oh, if he's got Greninja in with Specs Ice Beam, like, Torn just goes down. But I just decided, like, I need to try and get as much damage, as much trading as I can early, just so I can try to force progress on something. One thing going down kind of opens up the rest of my team. For example, the Greninja that went down early. That was something that was standing in the way of a Tornado Sweep. So that's kind of a checkbox that opened up for me. So I was really just trying to trade damage, yeah.
There any... You had, some nice offensive pieces. I mean, really, pretty much aside from the Rotom and the Muck, which, could do decent damage, you had 4 really good offensive pieces here. Was there anything you were trying to play to more than the others?
Honestly, not really. Between Garchomp, Tornadus, and the Custap Primarina, I was thinking those 3 are kind of my major progress makers, with any one of them potentially being like what cleans up the end. I was kind of, in my mind, I was imagining Scarf Garchomp cleaning everything up once either the ground immunities or Tinkaton went down. But yeah, really any of them could have been my win condition.
Steve and I talked about this a little bit. The Custap Berry on the Primarina, what exactly situation did you see for that? Obviously, you're boosting up with the Calm Mind, might get you, let you take some hits better, get in that Custap Berry range, but yeah, kind of what did you imagine setting up kind of in front of and, kind of triggering that on? Because, we talked, the Bouffalant do have some big hitters.
Yeah, for sure. The Custap is weird. It's like I was kind of just hedging that it might happen, and that Primarina doesn't super need its item otherwise. There were a few hits that it was designed to tank and get into that range. For example, Banded Dragapult, Terra Blast Ghost would have put me in range.
Okay.
I can, for example, I believe that's a 2-shot on a Terra Ghost Dragapult, so I would Moonblast as it Terra Blast, and then I get the Custap on the next turn to take it out. Kind of a lure for that. Other than that, though, it really just like, I knew Primarina looked pretty good at just kind of trading down with something, so if I made it out in an exchange with another Pokemon, that I could maybe surprise the next thing that tries to revenge kill, was kind of the idea.
Well, I mean, we are going to have to talk a little bit about the luck in this match. You had some pretty inaccurate offensive moves that really paid out for you here. The Bleak Wind Storm and the Heat Wave on the Tornadus. Ironically, you do miss the Rock Tomb later in the match, but you did have some nice luck with her. And Steve, do you have anything for us on? I know the Bouffalant pointed out there could be a couple pivotal roles damage-wise somewhere in this match, especially that Dragapult on that Tornadus I think was talked about.
I mean, yeah, there have been some. I haven't gone through closely to look at every single role, but really up to the coaches there. Yeah, Jimmy, how are you feeling about the accuracy of those moves? Were you worried throughout the match?
Yeah, I definitely got lucky with them. During the match, I was definitely, like, every time I clicked Bleak Wind, I was just saying, well, like, the game could be won or lost on this, and that's just how it has to be. So that's so fun for finals, but yeah, just really lucky, really glad that worked out. Nate and I were talking afterwards, and a couple of the more pivotal things, I guess, were the rolls that the Dragapult was getting, and the Greninja as well. Just low enough on the Torn with that Hydro Pump that the low roll from the Dragapult also barely left me alive.
My gosh, a series of low rolls doing terrible things to the Bouffalant. Never happened before, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that's what it came down to, is that it comes down to reliability. Ironically, we were just talking about your inaccurate moves, but you really seem to have just the bulk and the pieces to once that Greninja went down, it felt like the Bouffalant, I mean, they were by no means out of it, nor were they particularly on the back foot, but they just had a lot less room, a lot less wiggle room kind of in their game plan going forward, where that Tornadus, if it missed some moves, if it went down, you had a lot of reliable pieces in the back that could still kind of fulfill that role. And, just great team building there.
Oh, thank you, yeah. Bulky offense, I mean, once the Greninja went down, that's kind of the sequence you want to get into, right? You just want to get a one-mon lead and then just try to trade as much as you can until a win condition kind of reveals itself, and that's kind of what I was building towards.
Steve, anything else kind of about this match stand out to you?
I do have some questions. First of all, I know you haven't quite been in chat as we've been mentioning this with Nate for some times, but were you aware that this was your first playoff match ever against the Bouffalant?
Yeah, I actually, when the match was first scheduled right after semifinals ended, I thought to myself, I was about to ask, like, have we ever played in playoffs before? And I ended up watching the playoffs recap video that confirmed it for me. So I was like, oh shoot, like I wasn't quite aware of it, but yeah, that made this like a big match going into it.
Yeah, I think the stat is like 50-something playoff games between the two of you, and not one of them against each other until now.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, one other thing I noticed, of course, now champion of Season 16, your last championship back in Season 12, and before that, Season 8, kind of also Season 9 with the multi-battle, but, that's not a 1, that's a 1.5, so you're looking forward to Season 20 going forward then?
Yeah, if not 17, then it'll be delayed out to, 20 or 21 or something. That's the pattern.
All right, you give yourself you try hard, and then you give yourself a nice break until, you're ready to get back into the swing of things.
Exactly. Hey, I mean, one of us does have to take the crown for most championships one in a row from the Bouffalant.
Eventually, one of us does.
Someone's gonna have to get that. I mean, what is our longest streak still 2?
The Bouffalant had 3, being Season 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, that was forever ago. Those don't count.
Yeah, with the league getting much better, the streaks have become a lot less common. People have had hot streaks and some consistent results, but back-to-back championships, and going beyond that even has become quite challenging.
Well, I mean, speaking of challenges, as the winner of, gym leader season, you earned all of your badges from the gym, you made it through all the challengers, and came out on top of the tournament there, and, we do have a special challenge in our gym leader seasons of you get to face the Elite Four now. Build one team, bring it up against teams made by the gym leaders, 4 gym leaders who did the best in their gym defense during the regular season, and see if you can come out on top. Are you looking forward to that?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I was honestly not super expecting to get here. I thought that Nate's team was just kind of the foregone conclusion to get to the championship and beat that Elite Four. But actually, now thinking about it, like, this is such a fun format for that reason. It's going to be really cool to try and prep for all 4 teams. It's going to be a fun challenge.
Don't lose to Scarf Speed Boost. That's all the advice I can give to you.
Gotcha.
What are the, Steve, this is good. What gyms will the Noctowls be facing in the Elite Four? I don't remember.
So the Noctowls will start off against Right of Eggs Normal Gym, following that up with Joe 8's Electric Gym. After that, they'll be playing the Running Riddler's Psychic Gym, and if they make it that far, Patrick of the Corinth Phalanx Dark Gym.
All right. Well, some really exciting gym types in there, and I think that kind of overall part of the season, we saw gyms of wildly varying types have success or not be successful. So interesting to see what comes out then. Anything else you folks have to say about the battle here besides just great game?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, fantastic game, well played. Way to have some better luck at times, and great prep as always. Looking forward to getting back to facing you in the semifinals, and it turns out the other way, hopefully, in the future. I liked my streak I had going there.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for our coverage of the WCL 16 finals here. Again, congrats to Elf Owls and the Newport Noctowls for pulling home the championship win. And who knows, we might just see you for some Elite Four match coverage in a little bit. But if not, we'll see you WCL 17 coming up. It's going to be another double season, going to be exciting, and we'll see you then.